Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 89 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 5. If you did miss the last episode, number 88, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But after that, pretty successful one for the Force India team, and I think this one can be equally successful. Austria, a power track, very short track, so the engine power is really going to come into play, and so I think both myself and Perez, hopefully, as well, you know, not just me, both of us can score quite well, because obviously we're trying our best, to maybe close down Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. You've got to say at the moment it's been going pretty well. We're in second. We re-overtook Red Bull after they initially got ahead of us at the Canadian Grand Prix, and we're not too far off Ferrari. And for the first time, they're not kind of just completely waltzing away, you know, into the distance. You know, a good 50 points ahead. They're in reach if we have a few good races. Saying that though, Raikkonen, as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, has been under the radar, very consistent, and at the moment we're still kind of in the middle of a little championship scrap with him to try and take the top step as we go towards halfway through the season, where I think that's where we'll really see if we're in this title fight. At the moment, it's been going pretty well, and the car has been feeling absolutely fantastic so far, so I'm confident about that, but we'll have to see. You know, I don't like to jump ahead of myself too much in terms of if I think we're going to be right there at the end. So let's move into qualifying then through Q1 then. Pretty easy affair, as you would imagine in Q1. You can see myself and Perez very equally matched, in fact, as well. Not too much to separate us. At the moment, Nico Hülkenberg goes fastest there by literally a few hundredths ahead of Valtteri Bottas. So the Renault team, after the last episode where they made an upgrade step, we saw they have been upgrading since the Spanish Grand Prix. Clearly, those upgrades still working for them very well here at Austria. So Hülkenberg at least, maybe not Palmer, but Hülkenberg at least one half for Renault, looking decent. But now we cross the line. Although speaking about Jolyon Palmer, ironically goes purple there before we beat his time, and then at the end of the session is going to end like this in P4 with Perez now down in P8. So we've made a bit of a step up then, and Renault really fell back a tiny bit in that Q2 session. So a bit of a maybe track evolution or some traffic. You never really know with the AI sometimes. We've seen a few bottles here and there over the past few seasons really. Sometimes the Ferrari or the Mercedes will just not perform. We'll have to see. But we're in Q3 then, in good second sector then, through the final corner, whip it through, open DRS when we can to the line, and at the moment Hülkenberg's on provisional pole. We're only going to go P9. That is really underwhelming, and it's going to end like that. And Perez P8, so again myself and him matched together, and you can see we made a step up in terms of our time, but Hülkenberg smashes pole position there. Like, I thought I made a really decent effort finding 5/10, half a second around that very short lap, but Hülkenberg, even the likes of the Mercedes cars there who are right behind him, found just you know, buckets of time around that lap. So yeah, GG to them, but a very disappointing qualifying for me then, and we're going to have to try and make up some time then in the race, and hopefully in the opening few laps we're going to go to the full grid, see any penalties that may come of it, and then we're going to go to the race. Let's get into it.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Great work from Nico Hülkenberg yesterday sees him start on pole, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Perez, a Force India and Jolyon Palmer, Massa, Stroll, Romain Grosjean and Kvyat, Magnussen, Alonso, Pascal Wehrlein and Stoffel van Dorn. Sainz and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So unfortunately, no grid penalties to help us in our endeavour to maybe jump up the order a little bit, but Carlos Sainz again has another penalty. My former teammate, really getting quite unlucky this season with multiple penalties over the last few races. But looking ahead to the strategy, one stop then, ultra soft to the soft tyres, and in the Force India, that should be a very comfortable one stop, I should think. So let's just get straight into it with a bit of fuel and a bit of luck. Let's try and see how far up the grid we can get then in this race. We go to 5 red lights for the Austrian Grand Prix. Round number 9 of Season 5 is underway, and it's a gingerly start really for us off the 5 red lights. Palmer goes a little bit backwards and gets overtaken by Felipe Massa. We send it to the inside of Sergio Perez and Raikkonen, who's really bottled turn 1. He went so wide, and even Perez got down his inside, and he's actually been challenged by the two Williams cars of Lance Stroll and Felipe Massa. Meanwhile, you've got Hülkenberg leading the way from a 2x2 formation of the Mercedes and Red Bull car. In the middle of those two packs is Sebastian Vettel. Then Ricciardo and Verstappen go side by side on the exit. The same for the Mercedes guys, and it looks like Ricciardo may just have the legs on Verstappen to the inside. And meanwhile, up ahead, the two Mercedes cars are still going neck and neck on the exit then as we enter the heart of Sector 2. So that will allow us to maybe close up. There's a bit of a domino effect. You can see we lost a bit of time initially on that right-hander to Verstappen. You can see where the Red Bull cars and, you know, the top guys are making up their time compared to me, just pure downforce in the corners. But then off the drive here, off the right-hander, you can see this is where the Mercedes engine kicks in a little bit, and you can see now Ricciardo sends it to the inside of Sebastian Vettel. So indeed a bit of a domino effect as they all bunch up. Verstappen has to lift off, I have to lift off to not slam to the back of him then, and that'll mean as we look behind us, Sergio Perez right up my chuff as Hulkenberg still leads the way and is getting a bit of a gap to one of the Mercedes cars. But now you can see Ricciardo again goes to the inside of Vettel. He's going to slow both of them down quite a lot, and Max Verstappen. And so here we go, let's bump it up into Rich Mix and try and see if we can get a toe off Ricciardo maybe on the right hand side. Verstappen's going to occupy that space. We go to the left, we're going to get boxed in somewhat, and look at this, absolutely unbelievable how many cars there are. The two Red Bulls, Ferrari, my teammate and Raikkonen behind me. Vettel's off circuit, and that was 5 cars trying to make it into one corner there, all in one little pocket and square of space. And so it's come out, Ricciardo up into P4, Verstappen P5, I'm up into P6, and Perez has managed to get Vettel, and now Ricciardo has locked up and he's off in the same place Sebastian Vettel went off, I think it was, if I remember correctly, in Season 3. And so narrowly, we just about avoided smashing off our front wing on the back end of Max Verstappen, had to lock up a tad, and thankfully there was just about enough room to make that work. But Ricciardo, nearly sent us into some misery there once again at the Austrian Grand Prix. Obviously we had a horrid time last season in the Red Bull car, having a crash with, I think it was Lewis Hamilton, wasn't it, into that second sector. And now we go side by side with Verstappen. He's completely off circuit as we go down these inside there. To be fair, also I did go pretty damn deep and I locked up myself, so kind of unintentionally goes off circuit for Verstappen, but that kind of helps us out a little bit. And we're up into P4, and Perez has actually gone and done it around the outside then as we look behind us. Yes, he has, and he's up into P5. Go on, son. So both Force Indias here going really well. P4 and P5 once again. It's like Baku all over again almost. And now we've got Marcus Ericsson out of this Grand Prix, so virtual safety car gets called out on lap 4. And as you can see, as it ends, I was in the red, and so that kind of put me off. I had to lift off massively to get back into the green delta time, and that's lost me a heap of time. You can see he's still lifting off to make sure I get into that green time. And so as the DRS is enabled again, Perez is going to get right up our gearbox now. Meanwhile, we've got in the background there, I think that's Palmer down the inside of Verstappen. So really, Verstappen's pace is just pretty damn poor, as in the distance the Ferrari cars go side by side, as we will as well with Sergio Perez. He's going to try and send it to the outside. Then we've seen plenty of times the AI have been very good around the outside, and this season is no exception there. Perez cleanly round, DRS open then. We've got only Rich Mix to try and defend, and unfortunately that's not going to be the case for us, at least on this lap, lap 5. But we'll be patient and we can try and come back at him once again in pretty much probably the same spot. But for now, have to be patient there. Obviously being my teammate, not going to put up as much of a fight as I would probably do on Verstappen or Kimi Raikkonen or Sebastian Vettel, if you catch my drift. So now we move on to lap 6 then, through the final corner. We're going to have DRS here, and at the moment we're in standard mixture. I don't want to burn too much fuel early on because I need to save it for the end of the race as well. And obviously Austria is pretty much one of the thirstiest Grand Prix in terms of fuel, because you're just flat out for most of the lap. So it's really going to be quite kind of crucial for us not to completely burn all the Rich Mix up earlier on in these stages. So we tried to make a move down the inside, didn't quite work. We're going to fake to the left, go to the right hand side to send it down the inside now as we enter the end of Sector 1 into Sector 2, and again trying to maybe squeeze Perez out, and this time it does work out for us. He's unable to keep it to the outside, and we're back up into P4 then, and DRS open. And then meanwhile you can see behind us as we move on through the race, it's then going to be Perez who's under pressure again from the car behind him. This time it's Julian Palmer now. So Palmer, from what was a very slow start, remember on the 5 red lights I looked behind me and Palmer actually went behind the 2 Williams cars, so he was way down the order out of the top 10. So he's done actually fantastically, to be fair to him, to get back up all the way to here and to overtake Perez now. Oh, I jinxed it. I spoke too soon. He's now locked up and he's lost 3 positions. Some things never really change, and Palmer's just proved that point there, and now he's lost all the good work he had done. And now we've got Kimi Raikkonen instead looking maybe handy to maybe go and chase after Max Verstappen through the next left-hander. Gains quite a bit there on the Dutchman here. So as he flies through down to the last sector, he may have a good run towards the hill. The right-hander flat out usually in qualifying, pretty much with one gear change down. Raikkonen to the inside, and he's going to try and pull this off into the final corner. This will be a hell of a move for the Iceman there on Verstappen. Looks like he may just do it, is he's going to get the legs on him onto the main straight, and he's up the order. DRS open for both of them, but Kimi has the better engine there in that car, and he's up the way, and now he's going to actually look at the back of Sergio Perez pretty damn rapidly on the very next lap. So Raikkonen, obviously I mentioned my main title rival at the moment. You've got to say in terms of points, we went into this race 7 points behind Raikkonen, so really my closest challenger Verstappen I think is the one in third place, and he's about 20-ish points off I think it was. So Raikkonen really the only guy at the moment that I'm fighting with. For now we're doing a good enough job to be ahead of him, but he's getting a move on now, and he's right behind us now in what will be P5. And now meanwhile Verstappen tries to overtake Perez. So unfortunately it looks like Perez, after initially looking very aggressive in overtaking me, he's now gone down the order twice now and doesn't look like to have much more pace left in those ultra soft tyres. Maybe they're going away from him a little bit. Obviously I would imagine he's going to be pulling off the one stop this afternoon. One man who's definitely not is Nico Hülkenberg, and that is the Renault that is now right behind these two. You can see by his helmet there, that's not Palmer, that's Hülkenberg. He's already made his first pit stop, and he is definitely doing a two-stop. I'm not too sure if Hamilton is or not, or what Valtteri Bottas is doing, but for sure at least Nico is, and he was the race leader, so you would imagine he's going to try and get past these guys, and he's going to have a very easy time as Raikkonen locks up into that right-hander, the same place where Palmer locked up, same place where Ricciardo. I don't know what's on with that corner this afternoon, but all of them having issues, brake problems, or I don't know, tyre issues into that corner. And now we've got Hülkenberg through turn one. Very tasty move around the outside, very unorthodox way to overtake into turn one, and he's up the order. So using those fresh super soft tyres to good use, and pretty much by the time we get to lap 13, I can see Hülkenberg literally raining down my neck, and this was basically the kind of big alert to me, like I need to come in now. My tyres are going off so much that the two-stopper behind me has already caught up to me. So I'm not going to probably be fighting Hülkenberg this afternoon. You got to say it looks like he's well and away to maybe fighting for this race victory, along with maybe Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, but we'll try our best to try and keep ahead of the rest of the guys, and we're losing too much pace now. And Verstappen and Raikkonen have thought the exact same thing, because they come in on the exact same lap as me, so literally we've got that perfectly timed in terms of, you know, the rest of the competitors around us. So we keep ahead of Verstappen, and then Raikkonen come down the pit lane, and we're on that set of yellow wall soft tyres going to the end very easily indeed. It's just going to be about kind of getting some clean air really, and trying to pump in as many good consistent lap times as we can. Speaking about getting ahead and trying to get in some clean air, we've got 4 cars ahead of us, 2 Toro Rossos and 2 Williams then, to try and dispatch pretty quickly, because all of them look to be on soft tyres as well, and obviously they've been going from the start of this Grand Prix, so if we're going to the end of this Grand Prix, they're going a long way to go in this race, so we need to dispatch them as quickly as we can. So we move on to the end of lap 14, closing up to our former teammate Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso there, struggling at the moment, trying to get past Lance Stroll, but we're not going to have any kind of similar struggles to get past him down the inside of turn 1 very easily indeed. Little bit of a wayward drive on the exit then, and we just managed to not spin it out thankfully, and we're going to keep that up into P6. And meanwhile Verstappen has overtaken Sainz as well. We then close up to Lance Stroll, and then you can see up ahead looks like Fiat is really once again, I feel like I think he was the same thing happened at Canada, or maybe just another race. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like Fiat always, when I see him in these races, when I come up to him, he's always the bottleneck in some of these trains. Meanwhile though, we go down the inside, we make a fantastic little battle here with Lance Stroll, so close to my right front tyre, to his left front tyre on that left-hander there in sector 2, and we managed to feed it to the outside then of that downhill right-hander as we go on to the end of lap 15, onto lap 16. Very nice move there. Very close indeed. Very tense in the cockpit. But now we close up to Felipe Massa now, who's still struck behind the Russian. So I think if we can try and dispatch Massa as quickly as possible, and then kind of put Fiat in his place really in terms of holding up this entire train, we're not going to get the best run through that left-hander. But then as we go down towards the last corner, we get this slipstream going. We have to lift off, obviously, go down 2 gears, 6th gear, try and feed the power as early as we can, straight out of the car, try and get the best run, don't hit the curb on the right-hand side there, the kind of sausage curve, the yellow curve, as well, that will kind of drag your car across the apex. But then here we go, got a good drive. He's got DRS as well, remember, Massa as well, off Fiat, but we send it down the inside anyway, although unlike Sainz, Massa puts up a very decent fight through that first corner. So now we have a bit of a drag race really up the hill. No DRS for either of us. I've got it into rich mix, so it's just about trying to get the braking zone as best we can, not lock up, and if we do, try and control it as best we can. We do that. We were momentarily in first gear, but we got it on the entry and exit, and we're up into P4 now. So actually, somehow, we're going to be fighting for P3 now. So I think Hamilton and Hulkenberg are still there, so Bottas has somehow lost his third place that he was comfortably in. So that's great for us, but kind of annoying for him. But we sent it down the inside very, very easily of the Russian, and we are indeed up into P3. So I don't know where on earth Valtteri Bottas is gone. He must be doing a two-stop. It must have just got held up in a whole load of traffic, perhaps. Meanwhile, though, this is Kimi Räikkönen behind us, trying to overtake Sergio Perez. Now, re-overtake him effectively. Obviously, he already overtook him once. And looks like he's got it again, but Perez will tuck in right up his gearbox behind him. Even though he has DRS, Perez looks to have the legs at the moment, probably up into rich mix at this stage. He's going to send it to the inside. A little bit of contact made there. There's a little puff of smoke comes off his tyre, but he's still there, and Räikkönen has to give him the room, and so he's going to try it around the outside. This will be very audacious for Sergio Perez, but look at this. He's actually going to do it. Squirt out the throttle, and he's actually ahead of Räikkönen now, but the left-hander, more contacts made, and Räikkönen just kind of bullies his way past again. So that was a little bit unfair, to be honest. I was really rooting for Perez there to send it and keep it around the outside, because that was a really unexpected move that he made. I really thought he would have just backed off on that left-hander then, but no, squirt the throttle and was actually there. And then unfortunately, you couldn't really tell from the angle of the camera, but it looked like there was some contact, unfortunately, between those two, and Räikkönen just came off the better with that contact. And so now as we move then through to the last few laps of the Grand Prix, 6 laps to go on lap 30, Räikkönen unfortunately has had enough pace to catch up to us now, so he's going to try and badger us for P3. So we're going to have to do some defensive work here this afternoon for this podium if we want it, and the title rival Räikkönen is ahead of us now into P3. We're down to P4. He's got DRS wide open, and unlike Perez, I've just not got the speed at the moment. I didn't get the exit I wanted to try and close up and go down the inside, so we're going to have to wait patiently. We move on to lap 33, so 3 laps gone, and yet unable to overtake Räikkönen. You can see into that hairpin, just, you know, had a little look to the inside, thought better of it, and you can see just not got the exit we need off that hairpin then to send it to the inside here. Although Räikkönen does lock up in this corner, so potentially struggling with some tyre issues. Maybe the Ferrari is going to be worse off than we are by the time we get to the end of this Grand Prix. So maybe one of patience, but you can see there briefly on that previous lap, on lap 33, as again Räikkönen locks up. We were in lean mixture momentarily, because you can see on the right hand side we're a little bit, you know, critical on the fuel. We've not got all the fuel in the world to maybe burn it in rich mix, but right now lap 35, that doesn't matter. We are in rich mix, trying to send it to the inside, and just like Perez did, we're going to have to try and send it to the outside here. So can we do what Perez tried but failed ultimately and get it around the outside here? A little bit of contact made between the sidewall of our tyres. Räikkönen forces us wide into the curving, and ultimately we have to tuck in behind and try and see if we can make something happen then onto the last lap of the Grand Prix as we go on towards lap 36 of 36. So this is it. Can I get ahead of Räikkönen to close up the gap to what would be 7 to 4 points after this if we were to get 15 from third place, and obviously he would get 12 from 4. Can we do it? Let's go on to the last lap now. DRS wide open. Send it to the inside if we can. It's going to be close. We're going to have to give Räikkönen the room. We lock up a little bit, go deep, but again, you can see being very respectful, giving him the room on the exit, and he's able to still go neck and neck with us. And so now it's going to be a final drag race up the hill towards the end of Sector 1. Räikkönen on the left. We're on the inside, so we should have the better run into this corner. Brake as late as we dare. Little lock up on the right tyre, but Räikkönen is going to once again feed it to the outside, but crucially, we've got a much better exit. You can see there on the right hand side, we're out of fuel. We're going to run out of fuel if we're like this, so we're down to lean mixture. We've short shifted on the gears to try and save fuel. We're still critical. Only now do we go into the green, trying to do the best job we can to save fuel, but that's allowed Räikkönen back into this fight now. So the last lap, halfway through it, the fight's not over, because now he's still got it on the outside. So the fact we're running out of fuel and being critical on the fuel is really added to this fight, and now Räikkönen still tries it, but we've just about got it there in the same fashion that Räikkönen overtook Perez pretty much. I've overtaken him. We sent it to lean mixture. We're going to bring this home now through the final few corners. Lewis Hamilton, though, has won this Grand Prix. Very surprising. I thought Hulkenberg would have had it, but no. Our fellow compatriot, Lewis Hamilton, has won the Austrian Grand Prix from Nico Hulkenberg, and we have got a very, very hard-fought third place. That was so crucial. Just after overtaking Räikkönen there, at the end of Sector 1, seeing that we were about, minus, I think it was about 0.05 out of fuel, even more. If we had continued in standing mixture, I don't think we would have got to the end. We would have run out of fuel, so very crucial. I put it in lean mixture, short shifted up the gears to 8th gear. That allowed Raikkonen to come back at us, but I had faith in myself that we could try and keep it through, and we did. Able to put it in standing mixture in the heart of that sector then, and we're good. So that is a very crucial race for us, a crucial move for us there in terms of a bit of driving tactics, as we get ahead of Raikkonen. As I said, now we close that gap to 4 points, which doesn't seem like much, but every little counts, and you just can't kind of factor in what's going to happen down the line in this season and what the point's going to look like. So I'll take every point I can get there. Meanwhile, Hamilton and Hulkenberg make movements in the championship, moving ahead of Sebastian Vettel after a poor race, and you can see now we've closed the gap in the constructors with Force India to 14 now to Scuderia Ferrari. So we are still in this hunt for the constructors potentially, which is kind of surprising. Out of all the times, all the seasons, I would have thought, I wouldn't have pegged this Force India career mode in Season 5 to be the one maybe where we're looking pretty damn good to maybe actually topple Ferrari for once for the constructors title. I think they've won literally the last 3 seasons, I want to say, so they've been pretty damn consistent there, but we're looking good. If we can just continue maybe this, hopefully Perez wants to pull his weight a little bit more often, and we could maybe challenge them. We'll have to see, but that's a bit of a knock on wood moment for now, and we'll have to see how it goes. But guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.